Alright, and welcome back to another reaction video. So today, we're taking a look at Rustage's song, Sin, which was specifically requested by Eric Thomas, oh my goodness, almost a month ago when we actually started doing these videos. I originally told Eric that I was going to wait and postpone and not look into it at the time because of the fact that this is a mythology song over a historic one. But the more I've been thinking about it, the more I've thought, well, sure, it's not history, but it is more anthropology, which is not a field that I am super well versed in, but mythology fascinates me, and it can give us a lot of very distinct ideas or knowledge about a civilization that follows said mythological practices, religious practices. Also, I'm sorry about the fact that I've effectively not uploaded anything but the original extra history video on Monday this week. It's been an insane week. I just physically have not had the time to record anything. Even now, I barely have any time, which is why we're going back and listening to a song rather than doing like a full like 10 or 20 minute video. We just don't really have the time to do it. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at Rustage's track, Sin.
They ain't gonna talk when the jackal walks in.
Let's double check this. That's why.
It's the underworld, man, you ain't no king.
Alright.
They ain't gonna talk when the jackal walks in.
Jackal walks in, of course, because Anubis is the jackal-headed god, and I know that the next line is in the underworld. He is the, basically, I want to say judge. That's not the proper term, because technically the scales are the judge themselves within this, but he's effectively the judge using the scales to determine whether or not you are going to move on to a peaceful afterlife or not.
It's the underworld, man, you ain't no king.
And it doesn't matter what you were above, when you come down into the underworld, your titles don't matter as much.
You don't wanna play with me, you can't win. Wade the heart and they drown in sin.
Ooh! That's hard, alright.
Play with me, you can't win. Wade the heart and they drown in sin.
Alright, so specifically the idea of the weighing of the heart on the scales is that if they weigh your heart against a feather, if you were a good-hearted individual, if you helped people, if you led a virtuous life, then your heart will end up going up and the feather will weigh it down. But if your heart is full of sin, greed, you did terrible deeds, your heart will, of course, pull the weight down, pull the scales down, and now things aren't looking too good for you in front of Anubis.
They ain't gonna talk when the jackal walks in. Underworld, man, you ain't no king. You don't wanna play with me, you can't win. Wade the heart and then drown in sin. You ain't gonna walk through a trial. You ain't got no guts cause your organs are vials. Lose them in the
Ooh, alright. So you
drown in sin. You ain't gonna walk through a trial. You ain't got no guts cause your organs are vials.
Yeah. Canopic jars are typically clay. Okay? When an individual would be mummified, their internal organs would be removed and put inside of these canopic jars that would also be kept in the tomb with the embalmed, with the mummified individual. So it's literally saying you don't have enough guts because they are not in your body anymore. They are in these canopic jars. That's hard. I love it.
Losing in the ways because they're all in it now. Got them all wrapped up in a moment of smile.
Simple enough on that. All wrapped up. because they are, of course, mummies. The classic mummy is wrapped in a type of linen to protect the body from outside forces before they're even put into the sarcophagus. But also, I saw mention of the Nile.
Guts, cause your organs are vials. Losing in the ways, cause they're all in denial. But I'm all...
Because they all in denial. But, yeah, the Nile is the centerpiece of Egypt. You can perfectly see this on any modern map. If you pull up a satellite image of the nation of Egypt today, while the climate's definitely shifted to be a little bit harsher to the region, you can literally just see a sliver of green going down through the middle of Egypt, and that is the area directly off the Nile being fed water to actually maintain the greenery, make it something other than desert.
Wrapped up in a bone with a smile. Lay the tomb and rearrange the idols. Say confuse the read them on recital. Pay your dues and bleed out on the tiles. Weigh the truth and what I say and do is final.
Alright. I slipped away there.
It's cause they're all in the now, but I'm all wrapped up in a bone with a smile. Lay the tomb and rearrange the...
Yeah, embalming is that process. Now, it varied dependent on the era. If memory serves correctly, you were typically embalmed within Egyptian society through a few different ways, dependent on the amount of money you had and the amount of time that you could go through the process. But they tend to use salt to basically wick and pull that moisture out of your body, because moisture is the fuel to decomposition. You can see this in a lot of different places. A good actual example is papyrus scrolls or books. A book that is kept in a nice climate-controlled area with no moisture, or, for instance, kept in a jar in the desert where there's no humidity, it's not going to break down, it's not going to break apart. Whereas if it ends up, even if it's up on a shelf, if it ends up in a highly humid area, eventually it's going to start showing a lot of wear and tear, breaking down, falling apart. Because water brings that in. And in the embalming process, today we use a lot of different chemicals like formaldehyde, but the older method was simply to pull that liquid out of the body through salt baths or being buried in salt. I rearranged the idols. I don't know what that's a reference to. Yeah, I don't know what that's a reference to. I know it's a reference. I'm losing any kind of...
The idols say confuse the read them on recital. Pay your dues and bleed out on the tiles. Wait.
Bleed out on the tiles. I weigh the truth. Yeah, because he's literally weighing the truth. He's weighing the positive, the virtue within an individual. So that's, again, I love all the different flips he's doing on those scales, on that process for Anubis.
The truth and what I say and do is final. I don't care about martyrs or tyrants. Ain't even a mark of a pirate. Money leaving green like a mask of a Cyrus. They ain't got the heart to be violent.
Alright, so there's so much in that set there. There. Pay your dues and bleed out on the tiles. We already discussed.
And bleed out on the tiles. Weigh the truth and what I say and do is final.
So what I say and do is final. That is the final judgment of a soul once that it hits the underworld, is when they see Anubis. They're determining whether or not you go to the field of reeds or things go poorly.
I don't care about martyrs or
I don't care for martyrs or tyrants is a great bar, because Anubis doesn't care if you made a final great sacrifice. It's all down to the scale. You could be someone who gave themselves in the end. He's not going to treat you special. It goes all the way back to that initial line. No, you're no king. It doesn't matter. And then the next line is the one that I really...
Ain't even a mark of a pirate.
Oh, didn't notice that. Actually, forgot about that one. Papyrus is a type of reed that was commonly used to make a kind of proto-paper that the Egyptians used in a lot of their writings and a lot of their scrolls. Modern paper, the kind of tree bark, the fibrous paper that we tend to use today, is developed in China well after the main heyday of Egyptian mythology as being a popular religion.
Money leave him green like a
Money Leave Him Green Like the Mask of Osiris is so good. Osiris is the god of the underworld. Anubis is the god of judgment, is the gatekeeper, effectively. But Osiris is the actual god of the underworld. He ends up being killed in a whole conflict with Set, the god of the desert. But that's besides the point. Osiris, because of the fact that he is literally resurrected, a lot of images don't have a lively color for him. Instead, they use green, an unsettling color for his mask and for that setup, because they want him to be differentiated, because he has died and come back.
Osiris, they ain't got the heart to be violent.
Ain't got the heart to be violent. Again, I'm loving those twists on the heart and the scales. Think that they're...
The heart book of lost in the silence, looking to the stars when the dark on the horizon. Guess I gotta start my assignment. Punishing my name, but they ask for my guidance. Right simplistic, I'm a different god. Writing with the hieroglyphics on. High precision, mind to finish off. I got eyes to witness, I'm a vicious dog.
A lot of sick stuff in there. I'm just gonna throw out two. The hieroglyphics. That is one of the earliest forms of writing we've ever had. Cuneiform, as far as we can tell, does beat it out. And then it's kind of in competition with Sanskrit out in the Indus River Valley for the second oldest. But hieroglyphics are so important to knowing about ancient Egypt, which is wild because they were not translated until the late 1800s. And that was thanks to the Rosetta Stone. I think we've discussed the Rosetta Stone on here before. Very quick lesson. It came in 3 different languages. The same story was carved into the stone in 3 different languages. Hieroglyphics, Demotic, and I believe Ancient Greek. And Ancient Greek was still being spoken and still being read. So when we find that in the early 1800s, or might have actually I think it's the end of the 1700s, because it's during one of the earliest expeditions of Napoleon when he goes to Egypt. This is uncovered and brought to Europe, where it's eventually done. And Greek is still a regularly studied and used language, just like Latin, even though they're both kind of dead languages by the 1800s. I'm off on a tangent.
With the hieroglyphics on, high precision, mind to finish off. I got eyes to witness, I'm a vicious dog.
Again, he's a jackal-headed deity, so he's, of course, a dog, which is classic, but like I'm Ramses. We've discussed Ramses on here before, or an incredibly long-lived pharaoh who was incredibly influential during his lifespan and afterwards.
In the Valley of the Lost is the
In the Valley of the Lost is specifically discussing the Valley of the Pharaohs, or the Valley of the Tombs, which is a large area where a lot of Egyptian pharaohs end up being buried during, oh goodness, was it the Middle Kingdom? I don't remember which kingdom it was. There's 3 main kind of dynastic periods inside of Egyptian history, but there's literally thousands of years. If you go back to the Old Kingdom up through to Ptolemaic Egypt, we're talking like 3,000 years of history. So it's a lot. as the bandages being with the mummy.
Bandages and sand begins to run. They've been clambering for ambulance and bros, but when man is dead, then Anubis is boss.
When a man's dead, Anubis is boss. That tracks. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, they ain't gonna tour when the tracker walks in.
Alright, so we're back to the hook.
Underworld man, you ain't no king. You don't wanna play with me, you can't win. Wade the heart and they drown in sin. Deep in the tombs, they be lying dormant. I got pyramid schemes for your life insurance.
Pyramid scheme for your life insurance. Pyramids, of course, some of the most famous tombs in all of Egypt are the pyramids, the Great Pyramids, which, fun fact, literally outside of Cairo, like right outside of Cairo. You can see them from the city. But yeah, they are 3 massive tombs for them. And then there's another smaller set of 3 in the same area. Yeah. But pyramids have been used throughout history for a variety of different things. A lot of them are tombs, or a lot of them are different, and a lot of them have religious connotations. But that's besides the point.
I speak every verse like I write a chorus, so they offer up to me like the Eye of Horus.
The Eye of Horus is kind of that famous image.
It schemes for your life insurance.
Also, the pyramid scheme is a just horrid marketing strategy that just preys on people.
Speak every verse like I write a chorus, so they offer up to me like the Eye.
Yeah, there it is. That image. That being the Eye of Horus. Horus is another incredibly important deity within Egyptian mythology. Oh, goodness. I believe the Horus is the son of Ra, and is believed to... Horus is the grandson of Ra, the son of Osiris and Isis. And I believe, dependent on the iteration, depending on the time period, the pharaoh is believed to be a physical embodiment of Horus. This is kind of the thing with mythology, though. And we tend to think of it as this all-encompassing, singular structure. But it's not. There are hundreds of smaller deities that are worshipped around the world in more polytheistic religions that just don't pop back up anywhere else. One of the biggest, or just think of the two largest religions in the world today. Christianity. You have 3 main branches. You have Catholicism, Eastern Orthodoxy, and Protestantism. And underneath each of them, you have dozens, if not hundreds, of different readings, different variations, different denominations. It is infinite. Inside of Islam, you have the 2 big branches, the Shia versus the Sunni religious interpretation. So, and then there's many others underneath there. Religion is not monolithic. It never is. And so that's why I keep saying dependent, this is a thing. And that's the thing that's so fascinating to me, is the differences and the different stories within. But that's beside the point.
Man, acting full of himself till he's halved in the third and confined to quarters like a nice.
Ooh. Wait, what was that scheme? So they offered
to me like the Eye of Horus. Man, acting full of himself till he's halved in the third and confined to quarters.
He's full of himself, half to the third, and I got him in quarters. So it's literally just dividing and breaking them down. That's so fun.
Like a nice decorum, but they cry in forms. You know, deaths are machines that don't mind the foreman. Cursing every rubber like I'm Tutankhamun, even buried as a...
So that is very fun. on the kind of going through and breaking down the different reactions that people would have meeting literally the gatekeeper to the afterlife. Some of them are begging, some of them are full of themselves, some of them are demanding changes. But Anubis is effectively the foreman at the door who does not care. They are going to do their job based on the scales, and that's it.
But they cry on phones, deaths and machines that don't mind the foreman. Nursing every rubber like I'm Tutankhamun, leaving buried in sarcophagus and do a
Yeah, so Tutankhamun is a very young pharaoh when he passes away. He is realistically, I'm going to try to say this nicely, Tutankhamun does not have much of an actual impact on the nation of Egypt during his reign. However, the reason why we think of him as so important is because he is one of the few pharaohs whose tomb was not raided prior to the arrival of modern archaeologists. We've seen that many times throughout history. Tombs where they put a ton of jewels or art pieces or different items with end up getting raided, getting robbed throughout time. The reason why Tutankhamun is so famous is because his was kind of out of the way enough and unknown enough that it was able to avoid robbery and managed to make it all the way up to modern archaeologists with it. There's also a weird, and this is just nonsense, but there was the kind of myth that developed around Tutankhamun's tomb of a death curse, which makes it very fun to reference with Anubis, the idea of this death curse and the structure within.
Human bodies put them through like fast food, think about it, but they never got to choose a cartoons. On the viewing classrooms looking rude and cartoons. Big K9 in the mood to argue. Came in equipped with a boom and arm, turned the judge and the trial.
Ooh, what was that?
Rude and cartoons. Big K9 in the mood to argue. Came in equipped with a boom and
Boom and Ankh. Oh, Boom 2 and Ankh. All right. So in Ankh is that classic shape. When it comes to a lot of Egyptian imagery and structure, it's a religious symbol within older polytheistic Egyptian mythology. It's super fun. It's a super cool one. That makes sense.
now turn the judge and the tron and the shooter started soon. Yeah. They ain't gonna
And I believe this is our last hook, and then we're done.
talk with the jackal
We'll let
walks
it play
in.
out. But man,
That's the
that was
underworld,
awesome.
man, you ain't no king. You don't wanna play with me,
I
you
might
can't
put
win.
this, I'll probably put this in my
Break the heart and they
playlist
drown in
personally.
sin.
The only issue that I had, and the only thing that I didn't like, is all the way at the beginning, is that they double up on the hook.
They ain't gonna talk when the
Right,
jackal
you're
walks in.
getting it again here.
Underworld, man, you ain't no
That
king.
is a little bit.
You don't wanna play with me, you can't win. Wait the heart and they
Song
drown
is
in
so
sin.
hard, and specifically that last
No
line.
king. You don't wanna play with me, you can't win. Wait the heart and they drown in sin.
With the Heart and Drown in Sin is such a hard bar, and I am going to be thinking about that all weekend. That was so cool. It's such a dope line. But I will see you in the next one. Like I said, I'm probably not going to do a lot of mythological ones, but I wanted to put out a quick video. Ultimately, have a great weekend. I've got a new extra history series starting on Monday, and then next week we'll definitely have another history video, and we'll have another weird one coming out that's more for my TikTok audience, but I promised them that I would make it, so it will be coming out as well. You'll have to come back and see what it is. Have a great day. I'll talk to you on another one. Bye.